All right. We just had G was walking off the set just before this was going to start. But anyway,
I was
all
going
right.
to twirl off the set.
Twirl. That's another story. All right. Welcome, everyone, stopping in to see what the hell is going on with the Unbroken Talk. Here we are on a Sunday night, as promised. First and foremost, thank you for all our new followers and the wonderful support we're getting. We appreciate it. Before we talk about today's topic, which is long overdue because G's going to be the rock star. And welcome, G. You made it.
Okay.
I'm very, very happy to see you, as always. Well, first and foremost, the Unbroken Talk is really the how should I say, the announcer, the platform of all the Unbroken platforms, the Unbroken elements, should I say, right? So the Unbroken platform consists of the Unbroken OCB bodybuilding series, 3 shows, natural bodybuilding series. We had one in Athens, Georgia. That was in June 1st. And then we move on to Augusta, Georgia in October. And then we follow up and final show before Thanksgiving is in Columbus, Georgia, which I'm really excited. And I always say this, I did not know Georgia had a Columbus. I thought it was in Ohio, but nope.
And that's in November.
And that's in November, right before Thanksgiving. So 3 great shows. And the reason why I bring that up, because that's obviously under the Unbroken platform, but there's a special division in there. And it's called the Unbroken Hero. It's both dear to G and I heart, but really it grew the passion with me, started many years ago. I'll share my story when the time permits. That's going to take a lot for me to get out verbally to share it. But in any event, the Unbroken is an unjudged division. There's 2 Unbroken unjudged division. One is attached to any of the bodybuilding categories, either men or women, meaning you could be in bodybuilding or men's physique or classic, or the women could be in wellness, bikini, figure, women's physique. And you can also, within those categories, want to go into the Unbroken Hero. And then there's the Unbroken Hero unattached, which is not attached to any bodybuilding category. And basically, to summarize what the Unbroken Hero is, G, you want to put your 2 cents in on there? Or you want me to take it?
You take it.
All righty. So basically, the Unbroken Hero is this, and it really speaks. I'm going to be very forward and very confident to say that any adult that is living life has trials and tribulations. Some are bigger than others. Some are really big. And the really big ones are the obvious ones, meaning health, first and foremost, possibly from something out of anybody's control, meaning a disease. One could get the big C word, or, heart attack, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff, diabetes, any of those that are, out of anybody's control, not food related, but just, hereditary or something that spurred that. That's one. Then we've got the main, I guess, oh my goodness, it is just like cutting edge on society, mental health, right, G? I mean, just mental health is just huge. So an individual that suffers obstacles, we just said, as an adult, whether it's health, mental health. Physical is the obvious, weight loss, right? A weight issue. We always say weight loss could be the opposite, anorexia or any of the above, right? I mean,
Right.
Any type of weight-related struggles. Financially can be, physically abused can be, like the list goes on. Anybody that ever had any type of struggle that pushed them to a point of wanting to quit, man. And quit could be at any level, meaning I hate to say it, but taking one's life to that degree, because listen, that's reality, right? This unbroken talk is being real. It could, anybody that potentially wanted to get to that point, or any of the above in between, resulted to drug addiction, numbing agents, whatever it may be. But then, and only then, had a defining moment. That defining moment was just realizing that enough is enough. I'm not going to do this anymore. And we've heard it, G, right? Over and over, like
Over and over.
over and over. It's, there was some defining moment at some point in time, and some point in your life, that person's life. And then what I always say is, because listen, and this topic is really what we're going to, not this topic, but the topic we're going to talk about. Everybody every day has a defining moment of something, whether wanting to make money, lose weight, get better, whatever. Like, it's a defining moment. I'm not going to take it anymore. But there's one critical piece. I always say this because I'm living proof of it. I speak from the truth. I always say, I understand, I can help you because I am you. I share from experience, meaning this. When one has something that inspires them, that sparks that flame, that enables them to say, yep, I had enough and I'm going to fucking do it. I am going to lose the weight. I am going to get help. I am going to get off the drugs. I am going to detox. I am going to determine to get an education and make more money and be a better parent and be a better father, son, whatever it may be, right? The list can go on. So they have that inspiration moment and inspirational element, and then they do it, and the journey continues. Now, mind you, thus far, what I came across, G, and that's the whole reason of this Unbroken Hero division that I put into play on the shows, is that I've found the correlation of the inspiration and the defining moment and the inspiration with, I'm going to just say and call it, health and fitness, like trying to be a better version of themselves, getting in shape, trying to do something in that capacity. When, that is kind of the stepping stone that I have seen in the course of these interviews and just my own self-experience, that health and fitness comes into play. So that inspired me to create this division called the Unbroken Hero, to allow the individuals that feel a tug in their heart, maybe a religion-based, their beliefs, they're wanting to help other people, they're wanting to inspire others themselves, they're proud of themselves, they should be. They want to show their family, they want to show themselves under the lights and just feel good. That's what this is about. That is the Unbroken Hero. And ladies and gentlemen of the jury, it's a long-winded explanation. It's a passionate one for me, but I think that kind of summed it up, Chi. You think?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the Unbroken Hero. And with that said, the following, the other pieces of the Unbroken platform then in turn goes part of, we have the Unbroken Fitness. That's really what this highlight's going to about. So I'm going to just sidebar that for a second. The last and final piece of the Unbroken platform is the Unbroken. That's being able to share the stories of all the Unbroken Heroes. Now, mind you, if you're listening, if it resonated something with you that you want to share, that you have no interest in ever being on stage, that is absolutely okay. Because now we're expanding this, not just to our Unbroken Heroes that participate in our shows, but yet now we're seeking out individuals, just regular people wanting to, share their inspiration. And we're starting to do it already. We've already had Chrissy on. She was a huge inspiration. And then we also had Alicia on, who wasn't a competitor, and the list goes on, right? So there's so many others.
Alicia actually did compete.
That's right. She did
She
once. Yes.
did.
I say
She did.
I'm mistaken. Yes.
But
Yes.
I also want to point out that, right, it doesn't necessarily, health and fitness doesn't necessarily need to fit into this. You can be an unbroken hero without the health and fitness, without the, the fitness part of it. If you have a story that, you feel like you want to share with us, that something you overcame, drug addiction or mental illness, and you're not into mental health, or I mean not into fitness or anything like that, it's okay. Like, you can still come on and share your story, something that you overcame that you feel passionate about yourself.
Yeah, gee, that's a good point, and I do want to reiterate that,
Because
and
we don't want to limit.
yeah, no, it's never a limit. But what I found over the course of interviewing, that it seemed like it led to that. Like
A lot
when,
of people use that, yeah,
yeah, a
but
lot of
some
people
don't.
use that thus far. It's like I think it's and from experience, when someone gets into that, gets to the point of a defining moment that they want to be the best version of themselves, they're coming from not such a good place, right? So from a mental standpoint, possibly a physical standpoint, all the above, they're in not such a good place. And
Right.
it may be safe to say, I'm not going to speak for everyone, but I'm going to say it's safe to say that, from an exercise standpoint, and that's very a loose term, exercise could be in all kinds of forms, but from an exercise standpoint and a nutrition standpoint, I would safe to say that that is not in any way, shape, or form a priority of that individual. So that is absolutely could be, the nutrition is not there if eating is there or not. If it was an overweight thing, it was not the correct. So fitness seems to, for the most part, marry itself when one wants to be in the best, become the best version of themselves. It might not be the sole thing that gets them through it. That's their, in their influence or any of the above. So by all means, the very fact, and let me reiterate it, it's worth reiterating so many different times, because that's what this platform is about, and that's what we're going to share with G on the topic. It's about being inspired by one story at a time by regular people. That's what it's about. And there's so many twists and turns. It's like a roller coaster. And that has been the point for me, to give the platform to others to say, there's so much shit going fucking around in this crazy world with all the craziness, that the feel good stories are way more valuable to me, for mind, body, and soul, especially when you're hearing it from regular people you relate to. And
Mm-hmm.
I always share, G, it's great. We like documentaries of superstars and all the above, seeing how they rised above and became anomaly, but they're not relatable to a degree from their talent. To hear regular people have trials and tribulations where you could say, fuck, man, that person, like Amanda, we listened to our last show,
Right.
was like,
Mm-hmm.
holy fuck,
Yeah.
man. And the bottom line is what I want to really finish with is that somebody that's going through that had that defining moment and inspiration, and either dealt with it, beat it, or is learning how to deal with it, mixed match of everything. But when the day ends, they never, ever quit.
Right.
They constantly pushed forward. That's the stories we want to hear because that's the inspiration. Again, it's pretty simple.
Or if
We
you're
had
still going through it and you're still pushing through something that you're the lifelong struggle like mine.
Yeah. And
Um,
that's the good tie-in. Like mine. All right. So again, thank you all for coming on and listening. The Unbroken Talk kind of highlights those three: Unbroken Fitness, Unbroken Hero, and OCB Unbroken. But right now we're going to highlight the Unbroken Fitness because G Money, which is Patty Giordano, right next to my lovely host, the topic is on her, and I'm gonna outline it a little bit because I've had the pleasure of meeting G quite a few years ago, and I found it very odd that when I started to get to know her, her fitness journey started in her mid 40s, which is like crazy, man. Like, this isn't about me, but my journey started.
45.
Yeah, my journey started a long time. So, G, the topic is, and now that you are a personal trainer and helping with nutrition and helping your focus is helping women that relate to what you have went through, what you have conquered and what you have continued to go through. And I think you're a rock star on definitely being able to help others because as I share, it's so much better being coached by somebody that's saying, do as I say as do as I do because they've done it and relate to it versus somebody that's just, giving you book answers and not relatable. So that's kind of where the Unbroken Fitness is going to be highlighted tonight because I'm going to pose this question to G and let her start to break it down and we'll do a Q&A. But having and being, a coach myself with a lot of experience over the years, yes, the gray hair don't lie. I've been in and around this bodybuilding world for close to 30 years. I've come across many mature women and in the nature of coaching and communications um, on from a level of wanting to compete in the bodybuilding world as well as just average women that either want to get back in shape or was never in shape and everything in between. But I can say this, that I don't think, I'm going to say wholeheartedly 99.9%. I never came across one individual woman that was happy with their physique. Now, I know the pressures of, especially with social media, what a woman should or want to look like and what they're competing against and all the above. But the conversations I always had is what they struggled with is, having put on, their bodies change. As we know, the body changes as you get older and the weight goes on a lot quicker, especially with women with hormonal changes and having children and all the above, which you're going to touch base on. But what also changes is one doesn't really realize is when you're a kid and the metabolism's faster, well, you're a lot more active, right? And potentially you're not eating as rich type of foods and all the above. And you get older, it's more accessible to have a higher caloric intake because number one, you possibly can afford a little bit more enriched in going out foods and all the above, and then you're not as active potentially, or from an affordability, or there are hormonal changes, blah blah, like the list goes on. Gee, you're going to take the floor. So share with us your insight for when you were a young adult and then hitting into your mid 40s that made the transition to, hitting your defining moment, and then how you deal with the up and down yo-yo weight type of thing, which you and I are working with now, because we got a surprise to the audience on what we're going to do. But take it away, girl. Grip it and rip it.
Okay. I can't say that I've always struggled with weight, but it wasn't easy for me to I never looked like everybody else did. I've always had a I don't know, athletic body, even though I wasn't athletic, so to speak. In junior high school, I think I gained a lot of weight, and I was a little on the chunky side. I don't remember how, but I guess I just, as I went more into my teenage years, became aware of, you know, weight and how I looked. Up until then, it really didn't bother me. But so then, as I got a little older and saw these girls, how they looked and whatnot, I wanted to look like that. So I started not dieting, but restricting myself on eating.
So let me
So
back up a little bit. I want to interact with this because this is really the common. So you went through your high school and early ages, and like everyone, what have you, there's an image that we want to look and all the above. And then when you say you started dieting, because that's the $1,000 question, like from a word of dieting, what knowledge, what is it, a fad, like what does that word mean when you knew
I
it
had
then?
no idea what I was doing, except for
Exactly.
trying to cut out junk food, or thinking that eating less was better.
It's
So basically,
always the
starving
culprit,
yourself.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, starve
yeah,
yourself. If I don't
starve
eat, I'll
yourself.
lose weight.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
I
I
know,
didn't
no.
necessarily exercise or anything like that, because at that point, I don't think I was doing any sports. Younger, I ran a little bit. I dabbled in running, track, but my big sport was softball. Not really much more of that. Dance, when I was younger, and then once I got into my teenage years, I stopped doing all of that. Started hanging out with the wrong people. That's where I started smoking and stuff like that. So yeah, just starving myself and trying to look a certain way, having no idea about nutrition,
So
having
so
body.
let's back up a little bit to paint the picture on, because it's not, you're not a anomaly. I mean, it's kind of normal. You're either two paths to go in. I always talk about with my kids. It's like, okay, so you dabbled in sports, cool, but after high school, then you're either continuing on the path which is the most healthiest way, or you're continuing on the unhealthy path. So you went down on the healthy path, and I don't want to, that's not really so much the topic here, but it wasn't exactly a healthy path you went
No,
on.
no,
It
not at
was
all.
dabbling on a lot of drugs and all that
Um,
kind of
so
stuff.
at that point, it wasn't necessarily drugs. I was smoking cigarettes. It wasn't until I was like 18 where I really started dabbling into drugs. Um, that's where I really hooked up. So before that, it was like drinking, smoking cigarettes, the normal teenager, maybe smoke some weed. Um, but yeah, when I was 18, I had met my ex-husband, and
Mhm.
he really introduced me into hardcore drugs. So that's where the drugs happened. But before that, it was just really smoking and smoking weed and drinking here and there.
Okay, that continued for how long?
So that continued for a few years. When I got pregnant with my first son, I got pregnant with my first son young. It was right before my 22nd birthday. Well, actually, I was 21. I had him right before a month before my 22nd birthday. So when I got pregnant, I did not realize I was pregnant, and I was still doing that. And
Wow.
yeah. And then once I found out, I completely stopped everything. And it wasn't until my second son, so I was pregnant with my first son a year and a half. So 9 months later, I got pregnant with my second son. Um, and they're a year and a half apart. And it wasn't until my second son, I guess he was probably like a year and a half, 2 years old, where I started smoking weed again, and then my ex-husband got me back into like hardcore shit. Um, and I did say enough was enough with like the hardcore. So I stopped doing all of that, continued to smoke weed, um, but went through a lot of emotional shit with divorce and losing my kids at one point, not because of drugs, but because of the divorce. And
So let's back a little bit. So we talk, and you brushed over it quick.
yeah,
You know,
it's like it's a really emotional part of
it's
my life.
understood. It's understood, and I don't want to dig any deeper. That's not specifically where
Yeah,
we want to go with this. But the one thing I do want to say is, and if you can, there was a defining moment. You just said it. Enough was this shit, and then I just stopped. What was the defining moment? What was the inspiration? What put the brakes on it? You were how old at this time?
I was in my mid-20s still.
So there was, you know, a lot. What was the defining moment? Like what
Defining
made you?
moment was I had lost everything. That was when custody had changed over with my ex-husband, just because, not because of any specific reason for drugs or anything. It had everything to do with us personally. Like you said, I'm not gonna judge that up, but uh, I had lost everything. I had no place to stay. My kids were custody had changed over. I saw visitation with them. Um,
So just to be clear and not anybody draw conclusions because I know you, but I want to make this clear. He
mhm.
was the primary breadwinner,
Yes,
and with be the primary breadwinner and not liking, as far as the divorce, you initiated it.
yes,
So obviously there was a lot of anger on his side with that,
yes,
and I would safe to say that him being the primary breadwinner and then you having to completely go out on your own in North Jersey and take care of yourself, the amount of financial burden to be able to do that and support your kids far above anything that was possible.
yeah,
And he utilized that in a way
yeah.
to hurt you even more and take the custody. Is that safe to say?
Custody, yep. And
Yeah.
yeah, and he held that over my head
Yeah.
for the
Understood. And I just want to be clear on that because, from a perception, to make sure people understand and they certainly can
yeah,
relate, sometimes, from a financial standpoint, a mother, father in the position of losing custody or any of that stuff isn't by choice or anything they do wrong. There could be the potential of the other party using leverage in a
yeah.
way to deepen the pain or resentfulness.
Oh
And
yeah, he
I
used that.
share this because I've firsthand experience, right? I understand it from my side. So okay, so and again, your defining moment was the very fact on you were at the edge looking down?
My defining moment, yeah, really was the kids. Fast forward a little bit, a few more years. I actually did try to commit suicide because of financial burden and the pressures of like everyday life and
Was
him.
it? Did you end up in hospital
I
or?
did, and I actually ended up in a psychiatric ward, and it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun at all. Um, and realizing that I had to do better for myself and my kids. I didn't want them to grow up the same way that I did. My mom kind of had dealt with, not kind of, but she did. She dealt with mental health issues, and my teenage years were watching her go through and in and out of psychiatric wards and going through all kinds of mental health issues and shock treatments and all kinds of crazy stuff. And yeah, I was starting to go down the same path. And I said, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that to myself, and I'm not doing that to my kids either. So that
The,
was my defining moment right there where
gee, my heart bleeds for you. You know, I'm in that corner with you regarding the bravery. And the nice thing is that, as I always say, I know the ending of the story, so I'm so happy. It's a happy ending.
it
I
is.
love it's a happy ending. So although it's a very touching, and I commend you for the bravery, because you certainly are and will continue to be an inspiration for those that listen. And I encourage, as we unpacked, to be in connection with you, to be able to share and relate. You know, it's powerful. So let me set the stage on an age. You were how old when this defining moment came?
At that point, I was
Okay, so it was,
maybe
kind
late.
of, yeah. So the mid 20s on up until the next 10 years were very difficult.
Yeah,
Was Yeah, financially, physically, all the above.
like I went through it all.
Yeah. Okay, so you're a little bit stronger. Like when you had the defining moment, what kind of unpacked you? Did you repeat anything that was bad, or you had your defining moment? What was the inspiration? Obviously, I think it was your kids and
Kids,
not letting
yeah.
them. Okay. So from the next, I guess, 10, 15, 20 years, what did you just go through the motions or do anything? Because we
Um,
know we know the fitness journey didn't happen until 45. So
right.
what happened in the next 15 years?
Yeah, so I was basically just going through the motions and just trying to keep my head above water, doing what I had to do.
Mm.
Working 2 or 3 jobs at a time. As you know, I've been in early childhood education for a long time, so I was in and out of jobs there. I would just have these, I don't know, not breakdowns, but just get tired from having to deal with children during the day and then coming home and dealing with mine. Um, because at that point they were almost teenagers through teenage years, and then dealing with all the other just shit. Um, Doing different jobs, working,
Just getting by.
getting by. Yeah.
Okay. Anything as far as from a, the slipping back into the old habits at all?
Yeah, I would slip. Yeah, I mean, I smoked cigarettes the whole time, but then, yeah, go back and forth. Smoking weed. Let's see, just being with the wrong type of men. Just kind of what I was used to. Um, Narcissistic, abusive, physical, mental. There was a lot of mental. Until I finally said, enough with that too. The last person that I was with was we. got into physical altercations. He was very mentally abusive, always putting me down, and had, the financial. I've always struggled financially, so it was always a financial thing. But he lived in Newark, and it was not a good place at all for me or my kids. And putting them through that as well was very traumatic. It was very traumatic on them. Having seen a lot of different stuff, people actually getting shot.
Not a good environment.
No, it wasn't a
So
good environment
it
at all.
continued a tough struggle, but you
Yeah,
tried to be somewhat your head on straight
yeah.
to the
And then,
best you could.
yeah, I actually finally, because he would not, everything was in his name, and was actually, I don't know how it happened, but when I went to leave, a lot of times he would like physically block me from the door to take my keys and wouldn't let me leave. So one day I went to work and I never returned. And I actually lived out of that car. I had all my shit packed in the back of that car. Actually, it was another big name, the Ford Tobago. It was a Windstar Ford Freestar. I'll never forget that. And a minivan. And I had all my stuff in the back of it, and I lived out the back of that, uh, sleeping on people's couches, um, hotels, things of that nature. And then finally, I got a stable place, which I lived at for 10 years in Wellington. It wasn't the biggest place. It wasn't, but it was our place. It was mine and the boys, a safe place for them to come.
Mm-hmm.
And
You kept driving, man.
I
You
kept
kept
driving.
you kept driving. That dude. What? Turn around. What do you see? Turn around, you. I'm broken, man. I mean, that's what it's about. You kept fucking driving. You never quit. So here we are, and you kept pace. It wasn't pretty,
No, nothing about it was
and
pretty.
now your second phase of inspiration. Your defining moment. You're in your mid 40s now.
Yes, and I was working at different restaurants and just kind of just going along and still smoking cigarettes. And my boys' grandma on their dad's side had cancer, lung cancer, and luckily they caught it early on where they were able to cure her. And but my boys, throughout the years were always breaking my cigarettes and, Mom, when are you gonna quit? You gotta quit. You gotta quit.
Mm.
Um, so that happened, and I was seeing, all these commercials, and it finally, I don't know why, but it just dawned on me, I don't want my kid, I don't want to pass away in my sleep or, something like that, and God forbid my kids find me that way.
Mm.
So I decided to quit smoking, and there was a gym right next door, so I joined the gym. And it was not to gain weight and to keep my mind occupied, because that was one thing that I struggled throughout my whole entire life. I started smoking at a very, very early age, cigarettes. And so that was something that I struggled with, and I still do, on and off. So I needed to keep my mind occupied and keep my body occupied, because I tried everything before that, patch, what they say, whatever, it was a hand to mouth thing.
Mm.
I tried it all. Anyway, so I found that the gym actually worked in keeping my body physically occupied and my mind occupied, besides work and stuff like that.
So the gym started. So
Gym
you
started.
go into the gym, and this is the exciting part because this is where the rubber meets the road. Defining moment again, and inspiration is the kids and your health. What do you do in the gym? You walk in the gym and you do what?
I
What do you do?
I have
I,
not a clue.
exactly where most people do. Maybe a personal trainer, couple sessions. Like, what do you
I
do?
It wasn't even that. It was cardio and watching, just watching everybody.
And success? How much success you?
So I didn't have a lot of success for the first couple months. I would say like 3 or 4 months that I was there.
Right.
And then I started like watching YouTube videos. So then the YouTube videos got to, there was an advertisement in there that I saw for Spartan races. And one of my friends from high school actually was doing them, and I saw her posting stuff on Facebook about him. So I started looking more into it, and I was like, that looks pretty fucking cool. I want to do that. So I hired a personal trainer to start getting me ready. So that was like my first out with a personal trainer, and actually weight training, because I was terrified of going over to the weights because I had no clue of what I was doing. It was mostly cardio and just like standing in the back, like, or corner, where nobody would see me. If I was making any mistakes or doing anything stupid, I did not want to look stupid. So then I did my first race, and it was all history from there. I started taking group fitness classes and uh, surrounding myself with fitness people. I went on to do a couple more races. I did 5Ks. I got involved with St. Jude's. I did those like 4 or 5 to help out kids with cancer.
Right.
1 or 2 5Ks outside of that. But running is not my thing. And then just really started getting into fitness, and just from there, like, I just wanted to help other people, other women. I love the fact that I as I continue to go to the gym, seeing more and more women, because it technically is like a male dominated field. You go
Mm-hmm.
to the gym and you see a lot of men. You see these men with these big muscles and grunting and whatnot in the gym, and you're kind of intimidated. So
Sure.
I loved seeing women come in, and then when I started training, the confidence that like we gained and gained it together was pretty amazing. I love helping women and seeing them gain their confidence.
So
Even if,
back up a little bit because you're saying you love helping. So there was a point on saying that you want to get
yeah,
in
well,
the
people started approaching me and asking me, do you train? And I was like, no, not really. And they were like, well, can we work out together? Because they saw me working out. Because at that point I had already went to 2 trainers. And so, I started gaining muscle, and just loved seeing my body change. So people started seeing my changes when I first started coming to the gym till, up until then. And they started asking me, hey, do you train? You know, can I train with you? So that's what started.
so then you got certified and
Mm-hmm.
started doing personal training
Mm-hmm.
then.
Mm-hmm.
So then that was in that 45 range. So
Yeah, it was
then
45 when I started going to the gym.
so
So I
so
was like,
that's an amazing turn around. How about smoking? Started to try to get a handle on that. Chart inch root.
I
Where
quit
were
for
you?
4 years straight. It wasn't cold turkey. I used something to help me out. And then there was another setback in my life. Unfortunately, I had to pick up a cigarette. So yeah, I still struggle with that, where stress comes into my life, and that is like the first thing that I want to get up into my head.
Okay. All
And if I
right.
pick it up, then I start to do it. But then, now it doesn't go on for too long. Like if I pick up a cigarette and I smoke maybe a couple of days or whatever it is, pick up a cigarette here and there, I put it back down and continue back on to, like, I chew gum, the nicotine gum, which is something that helps me. But
Understood. Okay, so it unpacked, certified, started personal training, and then from the point of learning, exercising and lifting and some nutrition, then the entered thought process of stepping on stage happened. Talk about
Yeah.
that.
Well,
Well, before you do that,
okay.
let me just see if I can grab something real quick. Let's see if I can share this. So we've got something here. If everyone could kind of see, let's see if this comes into play. Not really sure if she's going to. We'll give it a minute and see. Is it coming? Let's see here and here.
You're really gonna do this, are you?
Did she pop in? And there we go. Okay, so what do we see? And this is what I just want to say. This is when G and I had met. And this was the start of her journey of her training. And we're just going to flip through a couple pictures, right? Look at that face, huh, G? All right. And this is the journey of peeling the onion. It took about 20 weeks on this
20 weeks,
process,
Mhm.
right? The abs coming in. Here comes the shoulders, starting to smile a little bit more. There's the back. There we know. And it's unfolding even more. And then the time right before the show. And then we pop on stage to this.
Mhm.
This is amazing. You remember this?
I remember. Can't forget.
So, with that said, it becomes an incredible journey. So, to be able to say, being honored, because you and I met, that's where, it was not much after your, a little over 2 years ago, somewhere around there, right? So, I was doing a posing clinic up in the Wallington, the Retro, and that's where we met. And in the nature of the conversation, you had mentioned you had a bucket list on possibly stepping on stage, and the rest is history. But this is really, this unbroken talk is highlighting unbroken fitness for the reason of this is that you to be an inspirational that's sitting now at 51 and having come through a not such an easy growing up, right? I'm going to say it's atypical to meaning that everybody has their trials and tribulations. Yours is certainly on the heavier side of trials and tribulations. They're certainly difficult and not the norm. There's some worse, some, everybody says you sit around a table, you throw your shit on the table. And then when you hear everybody's story, you want to take yours back, right? Because the next person could be a lot heavier. But yours, nonetheless, was dramatic. But what I've heard is somebody that was instilled of that true passion of being unbroken no matter what. And regardless of the obstacle, you still found a way to find that defining moment, find that inspiration, and be the best version of yourself. Now that you're firsthand at 51, you're currently in a place, that show was in 2023. You were 2023 is when you competed. We discussed on waiting to 2025 to be able to fill out a little bit because technically as a bodybuilder, you want to be able to fit the category. And I know you have inspirations of getting your pro card and compete on a high level, but put that aside. The point is being able to share, your history to show that you're real. And I truly have passionate about when somebody truly relates to the advice that they're hearing, not just bullshit. Listen, Atkins diet, fucking, what's the paleo bullshit, water fucking fast, whatever the bullshit is, do it. It's a $1 billion advertising shtick. You'll see results, which is loss of water weight and muscle loss because you're not fucking eating, is a bunch of bullshit. You're listening to models on the, on the commercial, or you're listening to Instagram influencers who don't really know fucking shit. Here, I wanted to share this on the Unbroken Talk. Number one, because it's inspirational, because you're a live version of what truly Unbroken is. And two, you're able to help. You're experienced enough to be able to say to any women that have similar views as you, meaning, hey, you know what? I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I want to be a better version of myself. I struggle with mental health. I struggle with weight. I struggled with this. I struggled with that abuse. I smoke. I have no idea. I'm intimidated to go to the gym. All these things that are common for the majority of any women at all, you could relate to them. So I see you so valuable to the platform. That's why I'm honored to not only hear your story, but be part of the platform and offer the ability to help inspire others who want to also become the best version of themselves within being fitness or nutrition or anything in between, or just the ability to be able to talk because, hey, you know what? I've had those abuses too. Because you're a real person with the, you always hear me say the philosophy, and I kind of tag this on some of the posts on Instagram. It's like, I can help you. I understand you. I am you. It's like, I get it, man. You know what? And on top of it, because you're at the highest, you want to get to that highest level. Anybody in between that just wants to be a better version, you don't have to compete. You could just want to start to be in shape. You could relate. You could help, whether it's online, whether it's face to face, or a mix of anything. You're there at the assistance. And what better person that understands going through menopause? Did I say the N word?
You did.
Some
Horrible.
somebody
Dealing with
that's
hormones and
going
stuff like that.
through
It's
it,
ugh,
and all that stuff. And
terrible.
having, firsthand experience myself with you, and helping you go through the prep and giving, being your biggest cheerleader, I can help you, achieve those goals and help you help others accommodate. So that's some great stuff. I greatly appreciate it, G.
Thank you.
Well. So one thing I know you want to say always that, what is your name and what are you?
My name is Patty Giordano, and I am unbroken.
Amen. Praise the Lord. I love that. So this is absolutely outstanding. And those that are fully listening to this last, if you could if you could share, if you could subscribe, we always have an extra episode. Extra. That's not there. We have one every Sunday. We put one out, man, and whatever it may be. But there's a special continuance with this. Patty G Money is going to step on stage next year. So we decided to do a very transparent transformation. It's going to start tomorrow, where we will do kind of what do we say? Like
Almost like a
a
reality, but
reality thing. We're going to, basically
but
reality. It's going to be raw.
you're gonna
You're,
follow my journey
yeah,
from now
until
so until I step on stage.
stage, and
So and
we'll
it's
unpack
going
it.
to be from it's gonna be ugly. No,
It's
it's
going to be ugly, but it's going
it's
to be
of course
positive.
it's gonna be
So,
ugly. But it's
yeah.
gonna be honest and it's going to be my raw self, everything that I go through, maybe from morning till night, what I'm eating, what I'm doing, all of that.
Outstanding. All right, G. Thank you so much. And I'll talk to you soon, honey. Bye.
You're lucky I'm in a good mood. Right here to the side, right here. Right here to the side. Can you stop? Does this person have PTSD something? Does she have mental problem? See, that's not nice. That's not nice. She's acting like somebody. That's not called for. What do you mean? Right here. Okay, come out. Yeah, can you unlock the child lock so we get the car? Because, I can't. Hold on. I'm dropping you. You have to come to a natural stop. Please, stop. Respect yourself. Let me turn first. I don't know what made me decide to drive this Uber today. When I woke up, I said no. Something in my feeling. I got out of bed and my phone was not working. Come on, can we just stop? My phone was not working. I knew something diabolical was going to happen. I should have known. I should have known. Oh God, it's going in circles. Okay, come on. Unlock. It's unlocked. Hold on, it's not unlocked. Don't spoil my dog, please. This is my wife's car. I don't know. I don't know how. Nonsense people.
We reached out to Uber for comment, and a representative told us they're aware of the entire 8-minute video and are currently investigating.
Stop wasting hours editing your clips. Since we video